Devonta Smith, Philadelphia Eagles. Listen, Jalen Reagor, first round pick last year, didn't really prove a lot. This year, he could find some success. It might take year 2 to develop. Alshon Jeffrey, injured all year, now gone. Zach Ertz, Goddard, those guys are still there, although Ertz is tentatively being shopped around, could even be released. We'll see what happens. Fulgham likely saw his one shining moment in a few game stretch last season. So with that being said, this whole, Philadelphia offense is quite the question mark, given outside of, Jalen Hurts himself and his rushing ability. Backfield, we can save that story for another day. We talked about it a little bit last week, but let's focus specifically on Devonta Smith. And I'll start modest. Is this a guy that we can get a top 30 season from fantasy-wise? And I'll start with you, Joe, because I already see you kind of murking your head. What are you thinking?
I think it's definitely possible. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver day one, right? Jalen Reagor did not do anything to prove that he's got that spot. So I think he's better. He's faster. He's bigger. I know he's skinny, but he's taller. He's longer. And he's going to be a guy that Hurts relies on because he's a guy that gets open and creates separation. And that's what they said a lot about Mac Jones, right? He had such good wide receivers that they created separation all day long. Well, Hurts is not really known as the guy that's super accurate, right? He's the guy that moves around a lot. He extends plays. So a guy like Devonta Smith has a chance definitely to be a top 30. Guys, the days of waiting 3 years for a rookie to start playing in the NFL are gone. That doesn't exist anymore. It's now like basketball. Year 1, you prove it or you're a bust. And there's exceptions to that rule. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, Bagley is a bust though. But Julius Randle, I guess. I mean, now he's balling. It's been 5 years. But,
back on fantasy football.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think we could see top 30, especially if – listen, Hurts is projected to be what? I've seen as high as top 10. Yeah, and he's not 100%. Only going to do it running. He's got to throw the ball if they're going to – and there were games last year where he had, 400, 500 yards? Something crazy. He had some big monster games.
One game, yeah.
Yeah.
One game was just phenomenal.
Yeah, so if he's going to be doing that and the Philly sucks, they're going to be chucking it out all game long. So guys like Miles Sanders, guys like Devonta Smith, they have high upside, I think, in this offense with Jalen Hurts. And I like him. I put him squarely at number 2 for this next year at wide receiver. I don't think Waddle is in the conversation with those two guys. Top 30 for sure. And in Dynasty, I mean, like I said, you got to think about this man over Pitts. Even though I don't love Philly's previous wide receiver selections, I think it's a new regime now. No more Doug Peterson. So you got to give these guys a chance.
100%. And obviously situations have changed over the course of last year, but to kind of give you an idea of wide receivers that finished in that wide receiver 30 range, or I should say inside the top 30 or just outside the top 30, Corey Davis finished as the wide receiver 31 last year. T. Higgins was the wide receiver 30, Cooper Kupp 27, and Curtis Samuel 25. So, I mean, obviously not comped to a guy like Curtis Samuel, but I can see a lot of situations, like Joe said, where there are broken down plays and Smith finds space. He gets open and he's going to eat up 20 yards after catch. So I like it, but you said definitely top 30. Can you see definitely top 20? And this is where I think it's kind of odd because you have guys like McLaurin and DJ Moore, who I think are contention to even move up this year from where they finished last year, which was at 21 and 22 respectively.
Well, one thing we got to remember, guys, is last year's wide receiver class had some names like Lamb and like Ruggs and like that. Devonta Smith is a better prospect than any single one of the guys that got drafted last year, CeeDee Lamb included, Ruggs included.
He's a Heisman winner.
So it's not entirely unthinkable. Can you see him replicating what Lamb did? I don't know, because Lamb plays with Dak. But it all is going to fall squarely on how that offense operates. And as far as top 20, probably not, because from my understanding, the coach comes from Indianapolis. They like to run the football a lot. I think they're going to try to lean on that a little bit more to give Hurts some not as much having to run around and chase for his life. Mm-hmm. So I like him as top 30. I see like he's not going to do what Higgins did last year. That seems about reasonable. You know,
seems about reasonable. Yeah. Jacob, what about you, man? What are you feeling?
Smith is tough because I definitely think he's the second most talented of the rookie class after Chase, but I just don't love the situation. I think he will get a lot of targets, but it's Hurts is the one that's going to limit him either by just his rushing too much or just his inability to get the ball to him. So look, we saw what Jalen Hurts play 4 games last year. I don't think it's a big enough sample size to really know, but he's going to be the man going into the year. So Smith is to me, the difference between Smith and Jalen Reagor is huge. So he's going to be the number one guy on this offense. And so do you trust in the offense? I don't really. So I'm a little lower on him than I think most people are going to be, but I love the talent. If he went somewhere else, with a prolific passing offense, I'd be stoked about him. I'm just a little worried about Eagles offense.
Fair enough. And as am I. I'm definitely worried about that offense. I feel like I only really believe in Sanders, and that's hanging by a thread. No offense, Joe. I know you're a Sanders truther, but I also love Jalen Hurts, but not for his arm, for his legs. And I do think he has potential to be top 10, top 15, definitely in that vicinity. So I'm all about it. With that being said, Devonta Smith is not someone I'm overly excited about, even in dynasty redrafts. You brought up the conversation, Devonta Smith or Kyle Pitts. It's like, oh man, at that point, I think I'm definitely taking someone like Pitts. Especially with the targets available. I mean, there are targets available for Devonta Smith as well, but I don't know. I don't like the situation. I don't like the landing spot as much as I do for Pitts.
4 games last year, and mind you, that's 4 games when he's not scheduled to be the starter, so he's not taking first team reps all season. He still threw an average of 37 passes a game for 270 yards a game. Throughout the season, that's 4,400 yards for the season, and over 600 attempts. That's not small potatoes, guys. There's a lot to go around in Philly if it works out.
Am I crazy to think that he's going to do better than Chase next year?
I don't think you are. I think it's possible.
It's within the realm of possibility.
He doesn't have as much competition for targets.
There's zero competition. They're going to be down a lot.
Very true. Very true.
Jalen Hurts throws a good deep ball, and a scrambling quarterback gives time for him to run literally all the way to the end zone.
Yeah, Devonta Smith is as fast as Tyreek Hill. I don't know if that's true, but I'm just saying for a guy like Hurts who has an arm, he can bomb him. And
he can bomb, and that plays.
So if you wanted to make that bold statement that you think Devonta Smith is going to have a better rookie season than Jamar Chase, I don't think that's crazy because I think the hype on Chase is gone too far, in my opinion.
I mean, I wouldn't bet on that, but I think it's.
I don't think it's crazy. I wouldn't be like, you're insane, man. You don't know what you're talking about. It's a bold take, but if anybody in this class can do it, it's Smith.
Redraft, Chase is going to go higher, but I think you're going to get the value from Smith.
And that is essentially the name of the game. It's that's what wins you fantasy championships is who can you get that's the bigger value. It's those mid-round picks that really, solidify your season. I want to touch back on Jalen Hurts' last 4-game stretch. I get it. He had week 14 and week 15, he threw for 338 yards and then 342 yards, 3 touchdowns in one of those games. But that was against Arizona and Dallas. Granted, he plays Dallas twice because they're in the same division. He was awful against Washington, and he was awful against New Orleans. So those 2 games inflated his fantasy outlook, and I think you have to temper your expectations. But we're over here telling us – we're over here saying the guy's a top 10 guy.
But that's half of his games, though.
Yeah, who cares? That's
half of his games. That's 2 of his games. Yeah, he's not going to play Arizona again.
That's half.
Yeah, that's half of his games he played.
Of the 4-game sample.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I get it. But I'm just saying,
you don't think
teams were awful. They were literally awful. They were awful defenses. Mm-hmm. Anybody could have gone out there and had a great game against Dallas.
I'm going to say his bottom barrel, what I expect from Devonta Smith is what we saw from Juju year 1, where it was not a whole lot of catches. He had 60 catches that year, but he had 917 yards and 7 touchdowns. And I think that's bottom barrel where if you guys remember, Juju was 4 catches, 120 yards, big games. I think that we'll see something like that as a bottom. And I think Damont's right is that no competition for targets and Jalen Hurts can throw the ball downfield. It's not crazy that this fool I mean, listen, top 20 is in the realm of possibility. Top 30, I feel confident about.
Top 30.
Cooper
feel
Kupp or
confident.
Smith? You're in the middle rounds.
Devonta Smith.
Yeah,
Uh,
easy.
And this is redraft.
This
Yeah.
is redraft. Yeah, and
I'm going Cooper Kupp all day.
I would go
in
Cooper Kupp as
redraft.
well.
over Smith. I think I go.
He's got Matthew Stafford throwing him, the best quarterback he's ever played with.
Yeah, I got Cooper Kupp as
True,
well.
true.
I don't trust Matthew Stafford with these wide receivers. Matthew Stafford spreads it too much, man. He's had Galladay for 3 years, and guys never have more than 80 targets. Or 80 catches.
Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are going to blow up this
And
year.
Higbee, and Cam Akers, and Henderson, and the new rookie that they just drafted. And
There's a lot of mouths to feed.
Dude,
Woods and Kupp.
A lot of
man.
mouths.
I've never had Robert Woods on a fantasy team. I'm going to
I
be
like
drafting
Robert
him
Woods.
this year.
So I think we can all agree that, it won't be pretty, but it'll be good for your fantasy team for Jalen Smith, especially given his value in Dynasty, later half of the first round or, as early as the mid first round. And then, of course, in redrafts as well.
Did you say Jalen Smith?
Jalen
Devonta
Waddle.
Smith.
He's peeking ahead.
I'm peeking ahead.